All right, Thyris, you were saying something about the Egypt thing. Like, talk to me about Egypt. What?
Egypt.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 2018, and really I just wanted to leave the country. I never had. I knew I wanted to get that experience, and I just started like looking places. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to go somewhere like where my money would stretch, and man, I just like I found out that they had like a Revolution 2008, 13, and people said it's super cheap and safe, and so I emailed like the one tattoo shop I could find, dude, and they said yeah, and it was like in like my second or third year of tattooing, you know. And I just went by myself. It was crazy, man.
Is tattooing legal out there at the time?
So it's definitely not regulated by the government. I don't think it's like illegal. Like we were inside of like a building with businesses and stuff, you know. But it is a little taboo. Like the where I worked at was Nowhere Land Tattoo, and my understanding, this chick Orny did like the first kind of mini Egypt convention there, and then she got kicked out of the country. And but
For
she
tattooing?
was still but she was still running this tattoo shop for people that wanted to come guest spot. And man, I mean, it's like I just threw a Hail Mary and people hit me up and said, yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, people would look at me crazy when I told them I was going to Egypt for my first time leaving the country. I think I realize it now, you know, it's just such a different world, dude. It is like, I mean, I've been other places since then and it's so much easier to travel. But yeah, it's a trip, man. The people are kind of like about it, but they're also like a little judgmental. They have to like register for the army, you know? So like a lot of the guys, it's kind of sketch for them to get tattoos. I had a lot of people schedule appointments and then cancel. But man, Egypt's all about the pockets, bro. Like the very first thing that happened to me in Egypt is I got screwed over for my tattoo equipment. I got there at like 2 a.m. and the police dude like profiled me and asked me if I had weed. He successfully profiled me as a pothead. And then these guys just started opening my suitcase and saying, nope, you can't bring this in, nope.
Wait, this is at like customs?
This is in the airport, bro. I've been in Egypt for 10 minutes. And it's 2 a.m. The American embassy's not answering their phone call. The tattoo shop's not answering their phone. It's 2 a.m. And these guys are like, nope, you can't bring this in. I'm sitting around. And essentially they like huddled up and came over and brought me just a piece of paper with a number. And it was just money. And I paid them and like
How much was it?
It was 1,600 Egyptian pounds. So it was like 90 bucks.
Okay, so they clearly asked you for some money to be able to just like let you through.
Bribe, like, yeah, with all the stuff. Like,
You paid US dollars or the Egyptian money?
I just so happened to have I had just got Egyptian money.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you're supposed to bargain with them, you know? By the time I left, like, I was arguing with people and bargaining with them, but these dudes sat around for 20 minutes, wrote a number on a piece of paper, got paid, and then openly celebrated in front of me, bro. Like, cheered, high-fived each other, and went back to work.
Yeah. They just scored 90 US dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the idiot American.
That was probably the guy's first day also. So look, on your first day, you're gonna target
everybody
somebody.
everybody I told that story to is like, nah, I wouldn't have. But like, it was just.
They said it wouldn't happen?
They said they wouldn't have done it.
They wouldn't have done it.
I could get like being there in the day and being like, no, whatever. But I had somebody waiting outside for me and it was 2 a.m., bro. Yeah. And nobody's answering their phone. And I'm like, all right.
I would. Have you ever seen the show Locked Up Abroad? I don't want to get locked up abroad anymore. The same thing happened when I went to Cambodia, 2010. And, you know, we're leaving the airport and you got to go through customs. And the guy is looking at my passport. He sees that it's an American passport and he says, tip. I was like, tip for what? He was like, tip. And he was like firm on that. And then it just happens to be the area where people from outside can come in and help you with your baggage. And my uncle just arrived. He goes, no, you don't have to tip him anything. So my uncle kind of saved me from it. And it was like that for the rest of the time. Like whenever we would be on the road, we're in a van. So a police officer would randomly stop the van and then just check to see who's inside the vehicle. I'm Cambodian, but I'm also light-skinned Cambodian. So then they look inside, they see us, you know, 4 light-skinned Asians in the back, and they said passports. So then my uncle goes out to talk to them, and I can see him through the window trying to like negotiate with them. But then he comes back in, he was like, they want $20.
Damn.
So $20 to them, I mean, I got an uncle, he works and he just drives trucks from like 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. He makes $10 a day.
Jesus.
You know, so for $20 to us, not that it's nothing, but it's not that much. But for them, that's 2 whole days of hard labor, you know? And it happened a lot of other places that we went where it's just better to kind of have some extra cash around to pay people off. Otherwise, they're just going to give you a hassle. But these people, that's just the way that they make their money.
Yeah.
And, you know, provide for their families, as unfortunate as it is. But now when we went this year, there are signs in the airport where the customs that it says no tipping.
Oh, that's cool.
So we felt better that way.
It's a trip. Well, I've kind of learned through traveling that tipping culture, I guess besides that, is kind of an American thing. Right? When I went to Japan, like there's absolutely no tipping.
No tipping, yeah.
Other places, they'll be offended if you give them like a large tip, you know? Pretty weird. Bargaining's tough, man. Like, I learned how to do it, but it's like, it's pretty taboo here and offensive, right? So like, it made me feel like I was getting in a fight. Like, it made me feel like a confrontation, you know? I'm like, what, motherfucker, you know? You lied to me. You said it was gonna be this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Cambodia, and there's markets that you can bargain for. You know, whatever the price is, whatever the price they tell you, you can negotiate. It's meant to be haggled with. But if you go to some places like a mall, you don't. The sticker is what the sticker price is.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a family member out there, and she was like, you know, it's not good if you go out and haggle. Like, it just doesn't look good, especially, she was saying, like, especially for men. Like, put yourself in a position where you don't have to walk into those stores and just pay the rate. But if you have the personality type where you constantly have to haggle and bargain, you're taking from someone else's income, but also you're the type of person that you're penny pinching. And I understood that. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go to some third world country and negotiate the lowest rate for whatever this souvenir item is. Like, I'll pay you $1 for this thing because you know, $1 to us is nothing. But yeah, they'll typically overcharge you for something. I remember one time I was in Singapore, and it was after like 4 weeks of being in Asia, I realized everyone, you know, negotiates and haggles. And I think I needed some sort of like USB cable or something, and the price said $11. And I confidently went up to the guy and I was like, I'll give you $7. And he says, okay. And even then I was like, fuck, I feel like I should have went lower. You know, this thing probably cost him $1. But you know, at the end of the day, that's their price. And I feel the same way kind of with tattooing is like, you know, you put your fair worth out there, and you know, you hope that people pay what you're worth. But you know, when you have to get negotiated with, you kind of feel a certain way about it. But at the end of the day, it all just depends on, you know, where you're going, what you're doing. Some places it is customary, but yeah, I just felt bad, you know, going to places like that, because you see the living conditions that everyone's in, and you just understand, even if they're patting you down for some cash, like, yeah, they just want the money and call it a day.
Yeah. I think probably the way to do that with money is to have a guide or have somebody with you.
Have a local there.
A local,
yeah.
You know, somebody like you are, like what they call like a fixer sometimes. Like, you pay them to be there, and then you'll probably still pay a little bit more, but you'll get hooked up.
Yeah, you got to give them some cash to pay some people off anyway.
Yeah. And if we gonna pay for some shit, I want it to be the cool shit. You know what I mean? And like, that local person will know that. Instead of you paying, you know, I'm in Egypt and I'm buying, you know, an Anubis thing, and you flip it over and it's like made in China. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay. Or you want to buy some of the papyrus paper or whatever. Yeah, the bargaining sucked me. I don't know. Like in Egypt, I felt like a sucker. Like, it felt like mean. I never bargained and felt bad about it. I don't know. Maybe that's just because
you don't feel bad.
I didn't then, bro, because it was nonstop, dude. It was like on the highway. People are trying to like sell you shit and bargain, and then like mad when you don't want. Like, a lot of attitude. I don't know. It's tough. The pyramids, bro. That shit is. Don't go to the pyramids without an Egyptian. I didn't listen. It's horrible. You know, one of my huge takeaways, man, was traveling alone. so far away. Have you done that?
Traveling alone? Farther?
Yeah, like have
no.
you? Yeah.
Most of the times I've just traveled with my wife, with my family.
Something else, man, being somewhere and just not knowing. And yeah, I feel like I learned a lot about myself. Just different.
What's the big takeaways?
Maybe this thing of like, we feel so important, right? Like I also feel like Americans, like, I don't know, and maybe everybody feels like this, but it's like, we're like the Las Vegas of the world. And I think it was a trip to be somewhere else and then to be like, I could do this and be here, you know what I mean? Or like the feeling that all these things that like felt so important back home and these things I think about, like I could just move somewhere else and just never see anybody and move away from all that shit, you know? I mean, you can't escape yourself, but just the actual idea of being somewhere else and living another life. I think that a lot of Americans have the, what do they call it? Like the main player, like the main focus, the main character syndrome, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like we don't, at least I forgot, or I don't think I realized to the extent that other people are living great lives and have complete different cultures in the world, you know? And traveling definitely did that for me. Like I see myself for the first time as an American, but also like as a human on multiple levels.
Yeah, traveling, especially other countries, opens your perspectives for like what other lives are like. And I was in Cambodia and we were with a bunch of family members in the van. And my daughter, she was 6 at the time, this past summer. And we're telling her, hey, so in a few days we're gonna go to this hotel. And she goes, what hotel? I wanna make sure that it has a pool and it better have a bunk bed, kind of like that other time we went to Mexico and we said it was gonna have a bunk bed, but they didn't have a bunk bed. And I was like, hey, like don't talk about that stuff right now. And when we all got out of the car, I had to like pull it to the side and you know, we just sat on the front porch of my grandma's house and we talked about poverty and opportunities. But these people don't even know the concept of a vacation. Like they don't get to travel like you do. And to be able to pick where you're gonna stay and spend the money that we do, like, do you know how much some of these people make? Do you know what it costs for some of your toys? Like, and just kind of things like that. And she was so happy that the pizzeria we just went to take all the nieces and nephews there. She was like, did you see that we were the only ones there? I said, yeah, because this is expensive. Like, you know, the money that we pay, that we make, you get to eat that every week in America. But over here, this is like almost once in a lifetime for some of these kids. So we went and like, you know, we got like 6 pies, we got, you know, 5 pitchers of Coke. And these kids, it's like a holiday, it's a vacation for them. But it was just a little lunch break. But my daughter's just nonchalant, like, you know, she doesn't really appreciate it because it's so normalized to her. But I got the opportunity to like talk to her about that. And that was one of the things I was most excited about. I'm just like, you have no idea how good you have it. And it's just because of where you're born, you happen to be born on this side of the world, in this part of the country, that we happen to have the opportunity to do things like this. But otherwise, she wouldn't have seen or noticed that.
Yeah.
And even like some of her toys, she had this little like cube puzzle thing and she wanted to share it with her cousins, but the kids' parents were like, no, don't play with that.
Why?
And I was like, do you know why they don't want to play with that? Because if their kid breaks it, they have to pay for it. Do you know how much that costs? Your toy costs $30. You have 2 of them. If they knew you had 2 of them, they would lose their shit. Like that's $60. That's like 6 days of work for these people. So yeah, they don't want their kids to play with it because if they break it, they have to pay for it. You just leave your toys around and you don't realize like how valuable this thing is. So I might have had like a 30-minute conversation with her to just get her to open her perspective a little bit, to just kind of value the things that she has. And just how blessed we are, you know, to be able to like do stuff like that.
That's a trip, man. I bet that's hard to do at a young age.
Yeah, and going over there was just trash everywhere. And she didn't understand that. I was like, we pay for a trash company to pick ours up and move it somewhere else. These people live amongst it. Like it's literally right across the street from us. You can see it, you can smell it. But this is just their way of living. And there's even houses nearby, like right down the street, that are just made of like scrap metal. You know, so there's actually real people that live in situations like that. We get to have a dog. Over there, dogs are all strays. You know, so the concept of like having a pet and feeding a pet doesn't make sense. They're trying to just struggle to feed themselves.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, even having the decisions and choices we have. I tattooed a couple in Egypt, and he wanted like these scars outlined on his hand, a little X on their hand, and thought the tattoo was whatever. But they told me the story of that they aren't married, but they live together. That's a huge no-no in Egypt, like even, or at least where I was in Cairo. And even when I went to go get certain like a place while I was there, like they had rules of like nobody coming in after like 11 o'clock. Like it was like, you're not gonna stay with anybody unless you're married. Like a woman won't stay with a man. And they lived together anyways, and this girl's family hired like 6 dudes to come and take her away. Beat the boy up, took her from the apartment. And then him and 20 of his friends went back and got her. And when I tattooed them, they were like, I don't even think they were 20, you know? And now she's exiled from her family. They got her back, but he wanted little tattoos to kind of represent that. And so I had that moment of like, man, I was acting, you know, whatever about these tats, and they don't even get to like love how they want to. They don't even get to live where they want to, you know what I mean? Without these rules. And even that out here, you know, people are just like fighting for the chance to be married and stuff like that, but just the opportunity is way different. That one really stuck out to me, man. That was crazy when I heard that.
So the tattoo was what that you did on them?
It was like...
On them or the guy?
I did it on them. They wanted... She got some like little letters, and he wanted these scars outlined because he didn't want to forget them. He had these scars on his arm from that day. From the day that they beat him up and took her, and he wanted to keep them. I'm like, man, that shit is crazy. And then, you know, you just compare that to anything anybody out here is complaining about, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, all the marks tell a story. Sometimes you want to keep them, sometimes you want to hide them, sometimes you want to add marks.
I'll tell you what was funny is I got asked a lot out there about, I guess, ephemeral tattoos or whatever.
Pharaoh tattoos?
Ephemeral?
Ephemeral?
Ephemeral. I think that's like the phrase for tattoos that are supposed to disappear, like really light tats.
Yeah.
And like there was like at least when I was in there in 2018, I got asked this a lot. There was like a strong rumor and like a myth of tattoos that'll go away in a year. And I think it's because they're really religious, and like I said, a lot of them have to sign up for the army, and they can't have that.
Yeah.
So I just was telling people, like, I'm like, that shit doesn't exist. Like, I don't know who's lying to you guys and giving you permanent tattoos, but that shit is not real.
Well, that's an interesting one because, like, some people want the pain and the experience that comes from getting a tattoo, which is why I think there's something even to be said about like white tattoos, right? Like you don't need it to necessarily be visible, but just the act of like committing to something that is semi-permanent, or, you know, you go through the pain. It's kind of like, again, I think the analogy I always use is like running a marathon. You train, you run, and you just want to be able to experience this thing. The metal is not that important. The tattoo may not be that important, but you want to like go through this. Perhaps it's a experience, a transformation, a rite of passage to mark this thing that's permanent to you. And it may not last, but you know you sat through the chair and got this tattoo. I can understand, and again, I respect it anyway. I like the tattoos to be permanent, but that's not up to me, right? That's up to the wearer.
I don't know. I didn't
tattoo to make it
didn't
last.
see it like that.
What do you see it as?
I saw it as these motherfuckers want to look cool, but they don't want to commit. You know, that's
You think it's a lack of commitment? Yeah, so that's another part of it too.
Yeah, they're changing. They want to be cute for the summer. They know that their parents might talk shit. You know.
Yeah, I see that too.
But maybe that's a real pessimistic point of view. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people come to at least knowingly come to tattooing for the pain besides enthusiasts. Yeah, I don't know. There is something inherently human about it though.
All right, so what about anesthesia tattoos?
Man, I genuinely think all things tattooing is interesting. Like I told you before, like, dude, I'm down to get a robot tat, you know? I'm like, I was talking with an old head in Denver, and his immediate response was just like, I'm not gonna fucking get a tattoo of the people that think is gonna replace us. I'm like, you think you can be replaced by that? Dude, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I wouldn't do it. I don't know. As somebody that has their whole back done, and most of the ones I see, I don't feel like a big wow factor out of them. I just feel like it's somebody that's rich and doesn't have a lot of time, you know? But I'm not hating. I don't know. I'd do it.
Yeah.
You want to do it?
An anesthesia tattoo?
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
I'm good. The risk of death, I'd rather not. I would rather still be awake during a dental surgery. I just don't like the fact of being put to sleep.
It's just one dude that died.
Yeah. That's all it takes, man.
Yeah, fucking right.
Tell me one horror story of someone jumping off a cliff, you know, what is that? Squirrel suits?
Yeah.
And he dies, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
Oh my God. Those guys, I think it's like 1 in 11. Yeah. I think like 1 in 11 of those guys die. That's the most dangerous sport in the world. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, but I've always looked at tattooing as there's something about the ritual, the experience of getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
That the pain is a part of it. I'm not masochistic about it, but again, if you compare it, if I like the analogy of a marathon, the person who trained for it, who ran it, no matter how bad it hurt, you get the medal, it means something. Versus the person who got to the starting line, was carried 26 miles and you got the medal, it doesn't mean as much. Yeah. And if you can get put to sleep and get a tattoo, you can probably get put to sleep and get it taken off.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think or commit as hard as like, hey, what does this mean to me? And if it's, you're getting a tattoo of Jesus or your mom and, you want to get a tattoo to commemorate them and how much they sacrifice, you won't even sacrifice 8 hours to get a tattoo. Like the meaning's not the same.
Yeah.
But I've heard the conversation about it, being, you want to save on time. So you maybe get multiple artists on you, it heals faster, whatever. But that's also part of the commitment, is setting the time aside, making the appointment, and going through the experience. But I don't condemn it. It's, everyone goes through their experience. But at that point, you might as well just buy art or put it on the wall, get a t-shirt.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet inside it don't feel the same to them. Like maybe that sounds foo-foo or whatever, but it can't be. I sat for like, I don't know, 8-10 sessions on my back, Like there's no way that their back piece means as much to them as mine does to me.
To you, right.
You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of reasons why tattooing's cool. But I feel like the pain has got to be like at the top of that, Like if it didn't hurt, especially if you could like change it, I don't know if it would be so impactful or popular or like such a culture, Like cause there's that barrier to entry, It's like, I love that about tattooing. No matter how you feel about me and how I feel about you, at the end of the day, if you're getting tattooed, you gotta sit down and get this shit, what I mean? Regardless of how we feel about it, I don't deal with a lot of attitude or miscommunication anymore. But in those days of like walk-ins or whatever, and you get somebody a little spicy, I love it because as soon as that needle hits you, it's like everything's different.
Everything resets. Your back, it never gets easier.
Yeah.
You still got to go through the pain. When I started getting into tattooing, I used to look at, I was now like critiquing and judging other people's tattoos.
Put me in your stomach, brother.
But now I think like no matter what the tattoo is, The fact that you repeatedly got back in the
I'm
chair
here.
and kept getting tattooed, like, and I got tattooed more and more. It was like respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you endured more and more. All right. So you got one question you want to ask?
Yeah, I got questions for you.
Go for it.
So, how long have you been sober for?
Oh, there's different timelines for that. So, I mean, the first thing I sobered from was drinking. I mean, 18 to 21 was like my blackout years.
Jesus.
Every weekend we just kind of drink, blackout, and that was just kind of, pre-drinking age. And then when I became legal, it wasn't that exciting anymore. I would just drink socially. I'd still get hammered every once in a while. But probably 2021 when I moved out here, I would still have like a beer for lunch or dinner. And I would just drink less and less of it. Like I would just end up throwing away beers at the end of each meal, never finishing one. And then I remember specifically one time I was having pizza with some family and I was out and I just reached out to go have a drink and I was just kind of disgusted by it. And then I just looked at the glass and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to drink anymore. So that was the last time I drank alcohol, which was like 2021. And I thought it would be weird if I went out with people and, I wouldn't know how to socialize, but I would just hold seltzer waters and, whatever, and I'd be fine. Coke was Coca-Cola was my big drink. And then I've always smoked weed. When my dad passed away when I was 16, I was like smoking 4 blunts a day. Stopped for a bit, and then as I got into tattooing, people I knew were smoking, so I would just smoke all the time too. And when I'd be stressed or when I was bored, I would dab, I would smoke, I would eat it, whatever form. And I was in Vegas when it became recreational. And I think something when it became legal, I stopped smoking that much. It just wasn't that exciting, I guess.
Not as
The
fun
thrill
anymore.
was gone.
You don't have to buy from somebody sketchy. It's not as fun.
Right, but the feeling was so different. Like when you get to buy from a dispensary, it was like you left without the paranoia of someone dropping it off at your house or your car. But then I started to smoke more and more, and I think it was like, after I left Vegas and my brother's shop, just kind of like trying to manage stress and stuff. And then I remember Easter 2022, I was in my backyard, I was smoking a joint with my neighbor, and my daughter, Ellie, she was 3 at the time, and she was really into blowing bubbles. So she came outside and she saw me go, and she reached out, she's like, Papa, I want to try. And I was like, no, like, this is for grown-ups. Like, it's grown-up bubbles. You don't want to do this. And she got kind of sad, and my wife came outside. She just kind of looked at me disappointed. And I just looked at the joint in my hand, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to, like, give some lame excuse on why I don't want to do it. And I think for a long time, I've quit many times. I would throw away all my stuff, my bongs, my scales. I'd rebuy it.
Me too.
My new pipe. And I just had so many of those instances that this was a time I was like, you know what? That's not the kind of father I want to be. And then, you go back inside, you're tired, you're lethargic, you don't want to play with, your kids, or you're just tired, whatever the thing was. I was like, no, I just want to change. I've wanted to quit enough, and this was the cold turkey moment. And I've never had the urge to do it since. I used to smell it, and I would, that feeling, oh, that smells nice. Now I kind of smell it, I'm like, it's all right, I'll pass. So that was the year later, 2021. We all find some sort of vice or addiction after, but then I got into doing mushrooms.
After that?
No, I mean during and before that too, doing mushrooms. But there was a period of time when I was doing like 3 to 5 grams a day. I thought that was microdosing, but apparently that's macrodosing.
No, the fuck it's not.
It's macrodosing. But you normalize it, right? It's kind of like people who smoke, like sometimes a hit is a lot, but then when you smoke a lot, like maybe 2 blunts will do it for you.
Yeah.
So 3 to 5 grams was like normal, and I was still functioning every day. But it was kind of the same thing. I would try bigger doses. The most I've done was like 22 grams. I've done like regularly, 7, 12 grams on like a weekend. And I remember the feeling of like, oh, I can't wait for this weekend or for this time next month when I would like set some time aside and, you know, take
to
a large
do a
dose.
big dose?
Yeah. But then just over time, it was kind of like the same thing. I was like, man, I'm kind of dependent on this thing. And I got into it for like creativity. I was using it daily for like anxiety and to feel calm. But
Big doses made you feel calm?
I did, you know, but what ended up happening over time was nothing that we take makes the problem go away. It just masks it. So I still ended up being like anxious, stressed. I think, again, we're always running from ourselves if we have to do something to fill that time, that void. And yeah, I just ended up questioning like how often I was doing it. And even if I just did it once a month, which again, I would always taper off of the thing that I was doing. And I remember the last time I did it, it was me and a friend, and she was having an amazing experience, some big realizations, and I just sat there like, nothing's happening for me, you know? And it was kind of the same way with my last drink, my last smoke. You could tell me all the logic and the reason why I shouldn't do it, but we have to have our own personal realizations on, you know, when we've had enough, when we're ready to move on. And that was just the last moment for me. I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. You know, let me actually go experience life without it. And, you know, you just kind of learn to manage in other ways.
So
yeah,
you're years past it. And so what has been the big takeaway for you? Because I would assume you've had more time doing it than not doing it. So what's been the big takeaway of being sober, and how and has that had an impact on tattooing, and what is that?
I realized whenever I was doing any sort of substance, drinking, smoking, mushrooms, like there's always a low feeling that we want to take these things so that we can feel better. You know, like I want to drink so I can feel good, so I can relax. I want to smoke so I can laugh and have a good time. I want mushrooms so I can have a realization and change my life, or, you know, listen to music in a certain way. Whatever your thing is, like we have a lower experience and we want it to be elevated. So, you know, they say we want to be high. And there was a point where like none of those substances made me high anymore. Like it just showed me how low life was, and I'm still me. You know, when the substance wears off, like I still gotta deal with whatever feelings, memories, life event takes place, and I can't always go to this thing. Like you can't just like smoke your way out of an argument or a situation. You can't just like take mushrooms for creativity whenever you like. I mean, some people can, but I didn't want to have to be dependent on a substance to manage my emotions. And I mean, I'll even take that a step further with working out. You know, some people feel like they need to work out to manage their anger. And it's like, I don't want to have to be in an argument or be angry and like, I need to go do burpees, or I need to go work out. Like, how do I manage my thoughts and emotions without any sort of external substance? And it was hard for a while. It still is, you know, but I think that just gives me a chance to look at it from a different perspective and make a conscious decision instead of like letting whatever happens just due to the substance.
But what's happened for you?
What do you mean?
How do you feel? What's different in your life since then? How are you different?
I think it's a need to depend on something else. Like I can depend on my own mind, my own ability to like logic or rationalize things, to think my way through it, to not escape or run away from whatever the problem or solution is. And that to me is like the big takeaway from not doing it. Like you give yourself that authority. You know, you get that control back instead of saying, hey, I need this thing to be calm.
So you feel like you can regulate your emotions better?
Better,
Everything?
yes. Yeah.
You can regulate everything better.
Yeah. It's not that way in the beginning, because there is an honest like withdrawal period. Like
How long is that for you?
I think drinking it wasn't time, but it was like how many events when I go out socially, especially to like, a big gathering and everyone's drinking and you're not, like how many events of those before I became okay not drinking? It might have been like 6, 7 events. Smoking, I don't think was that hard because I think I was the one that was more so leading the smoking in my circles. So then people would ask me like, hey, do you smoke? I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, why? You used to smoke all the time. I was like, nah, I don't want to do it anymore. So you kind of feel weird, but there was no pressure for me there. And then mushroom was definitely like, I think the hardest one. And I've done this every time. I've kept alcohol in the house. I've kept weed in the house. I had a box of like 20 chocolate mushroom bars in my closet. And I would always go to the back of the closet and just kind of like look at it. I'm like, do I throw it out or do I keep it? Like maybe I'll need it one day. And I don't know, I don't remember the date, but I have pictures of it, of the day I pulled everything out. Chocolates, whole mushrooms, microdose capsules. And it was the day I just looked at the trash bin, opened it up, and just tossed everything out. And yeah, you can go out and buy it again, but I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do it anymore. To get to that point after I last stopped having mushrooms, it might have been, I don't know, I can't give an accurate time frame on that. A couple months.
That's interesting.
But I feel like if you need it, that's your calling, that's how you regulate, then you got to go through that experience. I don't think anyone can ever tell you the reasons why you should, and it would make sense for you. We would always argue our way out of it. Smoking's bad for your lungs. Like, I don't give a shit, like I like the way I feel, or it makes me creative, or X, Y, and Z. No one could tell me anything when I was on it. But you have to have your own personal like realization on like, all right, this is the last time, this is the reason why. And it's gotta be, a big reason and be meaningful for you.
Did your tattooing get better? Did it take a hit for a little bit?
Smoking?
Not smoking and
Mushroom?
And not shrooming.
Oh, so I tried a long time ago, tattooing high, it doesn't work. My focus is not there.
What about, I'm just saying, like even the whole process, design, getting at home, like
I've never been able to be creative while being high, like smoking, like weed. I was always lethargic. I was always hungry. I was always funny. Mushroom, I loved the creative aspect of it, like the designing part. And I remember one time I was gonna go travel and I was like, wait, I'm gonna be out for like 2 weeks. How do I bring my mushroom with me? And then I was like, oh, you're dependent. Like you can't tattoo or draw without it, huh? You can't come up with an original concept without it? And then I was like, oh, that feels like a crutch. So then I started to go through the process of like drawing and painting without it. And I was like, oh, I still got it. The big thing that mushroom taught me was like, I had a lot of judgment blocks on my artwork. I was always worried on like what it would look like, what people would say. And when I took mushrooms, I stopped caring. Like it was the first time I could create without judgment. And I didn't care what the finished product looked like. And we still do, we care about it, but it just allowed me to create from a freer place. And I stopped doing mushrooms when I realized I was like, oh, I got rid of that judgment part of it. And I'll still always care about the artwork, but I wouldn't have this big grasp on it like I used to. I remember this one time I was working on this painting. I remember it was the day my wife left, and I looked at the clock and it was like 10 a.m. She was like, all right, I'll see you later, honey. I was all right, see you. And I might have taken like 3 grams. And I was doing oil painting, and oil painting doesn't dry. It continues to like get wet, you can smudge it, you can blend. And I think it might have been like 3 or 4 hours I was working on this one painting, and it started off as like whatever the painting was, a bird or something, and then I would fill the whole canvas and I would see something else and I would continue to paint on top of it, and the painting would morph and it would morph and it would morph, and if you had like a camera just on the canvas, it would be like a movie was playing. And by the end of the painting, I have the painting here in the back, it was this picture that holds a deep meaning and sentiment to me, and the painting's finished. People only see the finished layer. I was like, man, what if I just recorded this whole thing and like just kind of showed the journey and the thought process? It would have been like a stop motion or a time lapse of what I was thinking. But yeah, it just gave me this opportunity to like experiment and explore in a way that I don't think I would have, because I would have been too critical on what the painting looks like, what it means, does it look stupid, should I start over? I'm very judgmental myself. But I learned to loosen that up over time.
Yeah, most of us are, man. And when you get older, I think start asking yourself different types of questions and shit, you know? And I pretty much just never not smoked, you know what I mean? Like it, I don't know, and I definitely go through phases of being like, it's happened before where like, every time I smoke, I'm just like, oh God, why did I do this, you know? I'm not necessarily there now. I go in and out of it. But I don't know, you know, sometimes it's like, okay, well, if I was just more productive in shit I need to do, if I was working out with you every, 3 times a week and then like doing everything I need to do, maybe when I smoked, I wouldn't feel no type of like anxiety about not doing some shit or something, you know? Or, I don't know. Sometimes I do have the thoughts of like, why wouldn't I just find out, you know what I mean? Take a break and see what's up, you know? Cause it's like, there's definitely a chance that I'll be my best self without all types of shit, you know? I think there's a reason why people talk about it. But I don't know, it's tough. I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a tool that when you do it and when you don't, gives you a chance to be introspective, right? Like even when you don't do it, you're introspective about it. Like, what happens if I don't do it? What happens if I quit? How productive would I be? And I've generally always thought about like the best version of me. Like, all right, if I had the best version of me, what would that person look like? You know, what would he be doing daily? How would he live? How would he speak? How would he act? You know, how would he walk? What kind of parent would he be? You're scared of that?
I guess so. Well, I'm scared that the best version of me would be a sober me. I don't know why. I just like, I hate it when I think about it, you know? Like I hate this idea of like not being able to drink or not being able to smoke and like what it means. Like why wouldn't I be able to pull off moderation? Like, I don't know, I think there's more things in life, you know what I mean? And I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of successful people are sober, but for some reason it just bothers the fucking shit out of me, man. I don't know, like maybe when I reflect on it, sometimes I think it's like a ego thing, you know, where it's like if I say it out loud, then like I'm admitting that I wasted so much fucking time, you know what I mean? Or
that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and that, it bothers me. I mean, obviously I'm taking something personal if the shit bothers me so much, you know.
So that's a sign to just kind of listen and go into that thought and that question a little more. But one thing that I found is not helpful when I was smoking was listening to music about people who smoke. Like I'd play a song and I'd hear it and it'd make me want to smoke more, you know? Especially if you're trying to quit and someone just like casually talking about it, they make it sound cool. it's not helpful, because then you're just like, well, this guy's successful. Look at him. He's making music. He's creative. I want to be successful and creative. And then you just go, well, fuck it. I just got to keep going, and that's going to be me. But when the music quiets down, when you're by yourself, when you're at the end of your high, when you're hungover, whatever the thing is, like, is that the best version of you? You know, do you want to continue? And I've had many nights where I'm just like, drinking is so stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. And I'm never gonna do this again. And that's you leaning towards the best version of you. And then something happens, maybe a friend, a bad influence, a music, a party comes up, and you're like, man, I just wanna like just drink a little bit more. And you may go through those phases repeatedly with mushrooms, weed, whatever the thing is. But yeah, I learned to moderate and audit the music and the movies that I was listening to, audit the people that I was hanging out with, the things I have around me, to like, all right, the best version of me is not getting high every day. The best version of me is not drinking every day, you know? And you can start with what I call the small steps. Sure, you can cut back a little bit, but that becomes a slippery slope, because one day, like, it may be too much too far. You know, maybe you smoke and then you get into a car accident. Like, should the last day have been the last day? Or like, is this now your last day because you got into a car accident? Whatever the thing is. You know, maybe you get into an altercation or a DUI because you're drinking. Like, it's just gonna be one more time, or it's supposed to be an easy night. But then you know how it is. Like, I have a lot of peer pressure. Or I give a lot of peer pressure when I drink or I smoke. Like, I'm gonna have you take shots because I'm taking shots. I'm gonna have you take another puff because I'm taking another puff. I'm really bad with peer pressure, like socially.
That's funny.
But I've never really been an angry drunk. I've been a happy drunk, so I make it look good. But all the times that I've regretted it, you know, I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And it took me my daughter. You know, my daughter is what made me stop smoking. Because like, I don't want her to have to pick up on it. And if I mirror these habits, some parents like to openly do it in front of their kids. Well, your kid's gonna openly do it too with the wrong crowd. And I'd hate to have to be the one that gives her that permission just because I did it and I talk about it. And something happens with her because she went out and drink or smoke, and like, well, dad does it too. I mean, I started drinking at 13.
I don't like with smoking in particular. Like, I think it's great for a lot of people in their life. That's why, like, when I get to the thought process you're saying, like with your kid and stuff, it's like, I know a lot of people use it as relief, and a lot of people enjoy it, and a lot of people, it is a big part of their life, and they love that.
Right.
And it's like a family thing and everything, you know? So I don't,
Sure.
Maybe it's not a one size fits all, or maybe I'm just justifying that shit, you know?
So it depends on who's asking the question and what the intention is. Because the line I've heard before, it came from a song a long time ago, was like, if you have to question you're addicted, then you know you're addicted. Right? And so the thing is, again, it makes you high. So if you're living a really low feeling life and it makes you high, that's probably the best that life has to offer you right now. But if you're smoking and all of a sudden you're questioning it and you feel low and you feel like you could be more productive, is it really making you high or is it making you low now? And when I look at it that way, I'm like, yeah, there are times when like I've had the greatest of times with the greatest of people, maybe not the greatest of people, but I had a great time because I didn't have anything else that was like gonna top that experience momentarily. But man, if I was really enthusiastic about fitness or art or tattooing more than whatever the substance was, maybe I just don't need those things. Like it's really just where our attention and energy wants to go. You know, if we want to spend our time researching and buying and rolling up the best, you know, weed,
Nice.
That's where your attention, your focus goes. But if you want to really focus on, let's say it's art, growing your business, or reading books about being a better dad, then we would spend our time and energy doing that. So it's like, what do we really want to focus on? Right? And then we're always going to think about like, well, what's going to make us the best version of us? The best version of us says, hey, we want to be high today. Sure, no one's going to argue for that. You'll have to know that, what that conversation is like in your head. But again, I grew up in the hood, you know, like for some of those people, myself included, that was probably the best thing that came out of the hood, you know, like better this in our apartment than the reality of what's going on outside. I mean, that's why I smoked. Like, my dad was robbed and murdered when I was 16, smoking 4 blunts a day. I'd rather be doing that than being outside. Nothing else better to do. When I was the most bored and I didn't focus on other things, yeah, smoking weed was probably better. But I think that goes to like, what are we trying to do here in this lifetime? What do we want to pursue? Who do we want to become? And I know another thing too is like, I may have a strong willpower to quit and stop. But if all of a sudden one day I go, you know what, I'm gonna smoke, and then that gives someone else permission to, and they have a hard time, indirectly you cause someone else's, suffering or addiction to continue. So I also look at it that way. Like, I'd rather not be the one that perhaps people look up to, whether it's family, friends, and they see me doing it, and then someone else doesn't have the self-control. It's like, well, this person does it. Maybe we got little siblings, little nieces and nephews that it affects, but we don't know how it ripples out. I'd rather not be the cause of that. So for myself first, but also for the people that I care about, that depend on me in different ways.
You kind of take shit to like the extreme of things though, right?
What's that?
Like you're into like the extreme of things.
Oh, I'm an addict.
Like you hop on something and then you're like,
oh, for sure.
About that
I think
thing.
When I smoke, everyone should smoke. I think I'd be the best coke addict.
Yeah.
Like if I did coke, I'd want John to do it too.
It's better with people.
And then when I quit, I think everyone should quit.
Okay.
Like no, this is bad. We should all. I know I got you guys on it, but we should definitely stop. And it's too far. It's too late. If I get a tattoo, everyone should get a tattoo. I definitely have an addictive personality. If I should work out, everyone should work out.
What do you think that's from? You okay?
I think it's like a desire to like be the best at everything. Like, you see like Wiz and Snoop, who's the best smoker. I'd seen some videos of them on stage or something. I'm like, oh, I want to try to be the best at that. Someone taking the most shots. Like, I want to see if I can do the most. Who can sit the longest for tattoos? I want to do 7 days back to back. Who wants to run the furthest distance in a marathon? I tried that this year. So I definitely have an extreme personality, and some people say, hey man, moderation. If you just smoked moderately, if you just did this moderately, yeah, sure, if you can, but again, like, what does it really do to serve you? I can't dictate what's good for people and what's not. Like, if you're questioning it, if you have to have that conversation internally, then that's a conversation for you. But I've had my experience, and I'm done. And I wish, again, by sharing this conversation, I hope somebody doesn't have to go to that point of hitting the bottom and having to quit when it's too late. If you're questioning it, then quit sooner than later.
People have to, man. Don't nobody want to hear shit, Mm-hmm. People have to. It's not going to resonate until somebody goes through their own time of it.
Oh.
Especially somebody that has an issue.
Some people, you can't tell them nothing.
Most people, I think.
They got to go through it.
I think most people, man.
I remember my mom and my dad, they would drink. My dad's face would turn red. My mom would turn red. My mom would see me and she's like, why are your eyes so red? Clearly I'm smoking. And I'm like, why are your eyes red? And she'd just laugh about it. And, she would tell me not to do it and I should stop. I was like, well, you should stop, So again, it was kind of like, I kind of gave myself permission. I would do it in front of her because she would do stuff in front of me. But no matter what you said, I wouldn't stop, you know? You'd see the videos, you'd hear the reasons on what studies about cannabis will do to you, or what mushrooms are good or bad for you, and we're always gonna justify why we're doing certain things. That's why I say, like, some people we have to go through our own experience.
You know, I think at least there's an aspect of it for me that I come from addiction as well, like on both sides of my family, like really bad stuff, you know? And so, like, it kind of was like a low bar, but all throughout like my 20s and teenage years, my mom was like, you don't have kids, you don't have a felony, you're doing great, you know? And I want to have a higher standard for our children, you know what I mean? But there is that part of it too, that I think when I'm just looking at through a different lens now, when it kind of has always been the lens of like, no, I know drinkers. I know people with smoking problems. I have friends that fucking just dab all day. You know, I know people that can't say no to a shot. So it's like my 2 or 3. It's like, I compared myself against those things. And I think I felt good. You know, I felt like I'm doing it right forever, you know? And I don't know, it's hard for me not to. I think it's just how I saw it for a long time. Yeah. It's almost like it was good. It was like, oh, no, Thyris just smokes weed.
He only
and it was
weed.
like, okay, yeah, cool.
He didn't do nothing that bad.
I didn't even do party drugs.
That's a soft drug. Yeah, that's not.
Bro, I had strong addiction on both sides of my family. So, like, I always was afraid I was going to be a crackhead, bro. Like, I knew there was things better than weed, you know?
Yeah.
And so I didn't try anything forever because in my mind, I loved weed so much, I was like, I'll be on the streets if I do anything better than this. You know what I mean? But, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, I'm addicted to things. I'm glad I haven't had harder drug issues, you know, heroin or whatever else, I don't know. Like, I'm glad I don't have that. I know clients who have been through it, have been through rehab. Some have relapsed. Those are really hard places to get out of. Hopefully you got a good support system to get you out of there. And that's also the running culture too. I've also learned, like, people who run a lot long distances or people who lift a lot, it's a way better addiction. You know, they have to wake up and work out. They have to wake up and run and push hard because that's their high. And you'll hear them say that, you know, like, this is my high. Great, better that than something else, right? And I think that's always it. It's relative. Better weed than crack. Better working out than smoking. Better whatever. You can pick your thing. So yeah, at the end of the day, we're always human beings searching for a better experience. You know, like, I just want life to be better. And the best way that I know how, based on how I grew up, is, well, we're having a good time drinking. So I want to do that so life can feel better. Maybe it's smoking, maybe it's ecstasy, maybe it's whatever, Molly, whatever your thing is. Maybe it's meditating, maybe it's going for a retreat, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's getting a tattoo. We're trying to find ways to make our lives better. For some people, it's making money. Their addiction is making money. Like, I'd rather go to work than be at home because home sucks. So I want to just go work and make money. And I'd rather just, like, do that all the time.
Sometimes I wonder, maybe this is just me trying not to quit, right? Sometimes I wonder if a good rule would be like, I don't do these things alone. I do them, like, with people. I do them for, like, connection. So I don't have drinks unless somebody, like, asks me to have a drink. I'm having a drink with someone. Or, like, I don't smoke, like, unless me and my lady are smoking, or me and somebody are, like, enjoying something and have time to smoke or something, you know? Like, I think I probably abuse it. Like, it's a great tool for something for somebody somewhere, but, like, I probably abuse it.
Yeah, depends on, I guess, who you're with, right? It's like some people, and if you want to connect with that person and that's their thing, then yeah, if you want to connect with that person, you got to go drink, you got to go smoke, you got to X, Y, and Z. But it's like, can you still connect without those things? And if you've never tried it, then you never know, right? Like, we would always get together, me and certain people, and we would just smoke. And that's our connection. And we can't imagine it any other way. it'd just be too boring, you know, or we wouldn't know what to ask or what to talk about or what to do. Sometimes it's games, you know, like we need to play games to connect or to, you know, to X, Y, and Z, whatever the thing is.
Oh man, I had some epiphanies around that shit recently.
What about? About games?
Yeah, it's another one I don't even want to say out loud because I love it so much. You know what I mean? Like, in games, it like became a part of me and my identity, you know? But like, I was thinking back and man, like we always had a console. The first console I got through like a school like welfare Christmas program. And we went to this like room in the school and there was boxes. I picked a box, I brought it home, it had a fucking PlayStation in it. You know, and then I thought back, and a lot of the times, like really bad traumatic shit was happening when we were kids. We got sat in front of the TV, and we always had a system. We didn't have a new system, but we had a system. And
it was better in the game, playing a game, than experiencing what was outside the TV.
Oh yeah, for sure, right? And like comfort and whatever, and then like I was cross-referencing that with like some of my years, you know, like as an adult. And I was like, fuck, man, like if I, like at least some of it is like, am I a gamer and I'm just like escaping life? You know what I mean? And it's like this continued soothing, you know, from like the world or whatever. It's definitely not just that, but.
Yeah, that was my big realization this year too, because last major console I had was a PS3 before I started tattooing.
Hell yeah.
And 2011, I got into tattooing and I stopped cold turkey. No problem at all, because I love tattooing. Like I wanted to learn everything about it. I wanted to draw. I wanted to spend all my time in the studio drawing and getting ready for my next tattoo. That was my next like addiction and my next, where my energy was going. 100% of my energy was going there. No time for games. And I developed this identity around being someone who was so committed to art that anything outside of art was a waste of time. You know, maybe fitness, I could fit that in there. A family, I could fit that in there. But video games, nah, there was no place for that, because I wanted to really be the best artist. And I got a Nintendo Switch. That was just kind of just a casual thing to just kind of, you know, play with my wife when we were at home. Didn't really spend too much time on there. And then it wasn't until this winter break, you know, Black Myth Wukong came out in the summer, and I had 2 weeks off, and I really wanted to like play that game. So ended up buying a PS5, and I put like 100 hours in 2 months into this game. And I didn't feel any guilt, because I'm like, this is the one game I want to play. And it's got, you know, a story that I like. It's got the Buddhist mythology. I can appreciate the art of the video games. And once I stopped playing that game, I was like, I'm done. I was going to return the console, but I decided to keep it. And eventually I got Death Stranding. And then I started to question, I'm like, all right, now you're playing games too much. Now here's a second game and a third game. And I was like, where are your values? Like, are you the guy that plays video games, or do you want to work out more? Or do you want to read more? Or do you want to focus on art? And I was in this very neurotic state of being like an addict. I was like watching my wife put my kids to bed. She would go into the room. I would like poke my head out. And as soon as I heard the door close, I'd turn on the PS5 and it'd go beep. And I would just play. And then she would walk out and I would like turn it off. And I would like go clean the kitchen or something. And then one time she walked in and she caught me by surprise. And I was like, oh shit. She's like, what? I was like, you scared me. Sorry, I'll go clean the dishes. And she's like, why? I was like, I should be doing something else. She's like, just enjoy the game. And I was like, oh, like just enjoy the game. And I just had this identity that was wrapped around being this personal development person that worked out, that did all these things, that was very productive, and video games didn't feel productive anymore. So I understand what you're saying of like, should I quit? Should I not? I would hide the PS5 in the closet. I would put the TV away. And I talked to you about that because I felt like being a closet gamer. I wouldn't say anything about it, but deep down inside, like a crack addict taking a hit of a pipe, I would just turn on the PS5.
It's so good.
And then what broke me out of that was when Death Stranding 2 came out. I was like, man, I really love the game and the story. I'm just gonna share it on my Instagram and YouTube. And then like this closet gamer slash hidden game addict kind of went away. And I think when I gave myself permission to just be this person, there was no need to do this thing anymore. I don't know what it was. I think I was like fighting my own self of like who I should be, what I should and shouldn't be doing. And it was kind of like, I understood what like being addicted to cocaine felt like. Like I couldn't wait to come home and do it. And then once I like gave myself permission to do it, like if someone just says, go ahead, here, go take a hit, go smoke or go whatever. Once it became legal to do these things, it wasn't that exciting anymore. And then now like I don't play games like that. It just went away. So I don't know, it's just a weird neurotic thing that I go through when I'm really into something. But now it's come back into like art.
Oh yeah.
Like, all right, now my time and energy is gonna go into art again.
See, I wonder to what degree is it like really just about being okay with who you are and what you're doing. And once again, this is me trying to talk myself out of like getting disciplined to change my life. But like that's the fear for me is like how much of it is just like not being okay with where the fuck you are. You know, it's like, okay, you quit the weed. Okay, you don't do anything but draw. Okay, you don't do all whatever. And but are you still gonna have that feeling? Do you still have that feeling of like, fuck, I should be doing this? What am I doing? I should be maximizing. Like maybe that's also like some type of internal thing, you know, and some of those things don't really have anything to do with the actual thing, you know. It's more about you just not being okay with where you're at and what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've meditated on that, and I look at that as like on a universal level and on a conventional level. The universal level is you're perfect just as you are. If you just accepted yourself for who you are, you're a tattoo artist, you're a game addict, you smoke, you're a porn addict, you whatever your thing is, right? You name, like, just accept yourself for who you are. Don't fight it anymore, and just list all these things and just be okay with like, this is who I am, right? You're not fighting it anymore. That's the universal level. On the conventional level, there's still always improvement and things that you can do to make your life better. So it's like, hey, I need to get in shape. I need to like quit fucking around and like focus on my art or focus on my business. So I think those are two things that I've battled with a lot. And when I learned to just accept both, then it just kind of happens more so in a flow state of like, all right, I don't have to fight this urge anymore because I'm not running from it. I know who I am. I know what my faults are, my flaws, my addictions are. I see it. But at the same time, we got to make conscious effort to make our lives better, because on a day-to-day basis, yeah, we can be better. So we can give ourselves the excuse of the universal level, like, no, like I'm perfect, I'm good, like I'm just who I am, like I'm enough. All right, you get that pass, you're enough, you're a human being, you make mistakes, you love who you are, whatever. But at the end of the day, on a conventional level, we got work to do. We can be better human beings.
I've never felt like that. I don't know. Sometimes, like, I just feel like I'm actually like flabbergasted by people that have like so much belief in themselves. Like I like who I am and I like my life, you know. But like I don't have a default. Like I have to work to push past and to do shit and believe in myself and tell myself, you know. Like I don't have the default. Like I can fucking do it, you know what I mean? Like it's like I have to trick myself into believing the shit, you know.
Yeah. I mean, do you believe that you can be better than you are now?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's enough right there. Like having just that enough belief, then it's spending the time and energy like in what that means, what that looks like. Okay, so in what areas?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets hard, because like what it requires is now effort, time, change in what you're doing, getting rid of things that are comfortable, getting into things that are uncomfortable. I mean, I'm glad that like you join us for like workouts. You know, I know that's uncomfortable. You got to wake up early, your body's sore, but I know you feel better doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that you show up each day, that's belief. Like, we have to reinforce our belief in ourselves daily by the actions that we take. So if we believe that we're worth it, we'll work for it. You know, we'll show up each day and just try a little bit more. And it's okay to fall down and to not show up for yourself. But each time that we show up, that's a vote for, hey, I'm gonna show up and be better. I'm worth it. My family's worth it. Here I
That's
go.
the big one, the family shit.
Yeah.
That's the one that's influencing the thoughts, right? All the possible change.
But I like what you've been kind of going back and forth on, is like the fact that you have to say it out loud is scary, because now you're bringing it to the surface. Like when we can write down and say, I want to change this, I want to become that. I made a post about it, a video post. I was like, I always felt weird saying I wanted to like be successful, to be stronger, to be faster, to be happier. Like, it feels weird saying it, right? Like these affirmation things. And just saying it is not enough. Like, you have to actually do the things that it takes to get there. But just to even say it, like, that's like a self-worth thing. But you have to back that up by the actions that we take daily. One of the things that I'm grateful for is that my parents, double-edged sword, because I'm so hard on myself, but they're always like, you gotta try harder. Like, what are you, stupid? Like, you know, go be better, go do this thing, go try harder. Like, come on, you can do it. And I would hate it because I'm like, it's just too much pressure. But that's kind of like built my self-talk. And I see it, you know, happening with my kids too. My wife's like, just calm down. Like, she's only 7. The kid's only 2. But, you know, I got that from them, and they're just like, come on, don't be like that person. You gotta go try. But I do that with like the people that I'm around too. I feel like I am, again, that's part of my peer pressure. Like, I see the potential in people. I want them to like push and try harder. And sometimes the people I'm around, maybe it's apprentices here, people I work with, like, it's too much too soon. Maybe for you.
God damn, man.
But I do my best to like kind of meet people where they're at and give them the grace and the space to like be who you are and where you're at.
So yeah, you're pretty good at that. I wouldn't let you do that. You're pretty good at that. Yeah, you're pretty good at that.
I mean, you said it before, like you walked in at a time where it's like you feel like it's good timing. Like, the people that I was with at the time when I opened the studio, fitness was a number one priority. Like, I wanted to see discipline. Like, you got to run a marathon, you got to do something. So like, I can see this discipline so that hopefully it can translate into tattooing and business. But it wasn't the case. Like, people were doing it just for me. They weren't really doing it for themselves. So then it didn't carry on. You know? So then it's just like, all right, like, I can't force you to do this thing because you're not going to want to do it. So then I would just give people a space, and then they see me do certain things and they go, well, I want to try that too. Kind of the same way, like, I didn't make you work out, but naturally you're like, I see the benefits. I want to try it too. At my time, at my pace. And I think that's the best that we can do, is just be the best version of ourselves, be an example. And then if someone sees that, we become like a shining light, and we go, you know what? I like that guy over there. I see what he's doing. I'm going to try a little bit, maybe not as extreme. I'm going to do a little bit of it. And then we just become like a living example.
Yeah. Well, man, like the best things in my life just come from leaning towards some type of uncomfortability, you know? And yeah, I was intimidated to come here, you know, because I knew you were gonna ask. Like I told you, you know, it took you like 3 days to be like, we're gonna do some push-ups. You know what I mean? I literally was betting with my lady on how long it was gonna be before you invited me to come more.
Yeah.
It was 1 week, you know. I don't even think it was a week. It was like, you know, Mondays, whatever. And then stuff you told me about my work and other things.
You also
that
didn't
we're
know how
talking
fast
about.
I was going to give you a code and a key.
Oh yeah,
When I let people into the space, like I trust them.
Yeah.
And I I give that trust and that respect, and like likewise, it's just like, you know, I want you to thrive and to grow. But also I see your potential. I'm like, all right, like I'm gonna do some push-ups, so if you're gonna work out.
Fucking push-ups, man. How you feeling, Steve?
Good.
Feeling good?
Doing good, John?
You relax. You take a few
Thanks
minutes,
for hanging
man.
out, man.
Yeah, of course.
John is here. This is his third session, but this week he's got 3 days back to back. Work on the sleeve. Once we're all done, we'll get John in here. We'll do a podcast. We'll do a little interview session also.
So you've had a lot of time, I would imagine, to process Ink Master and shit since you've been, you know, since you went. Why do you feel like you did it? And I asked that because like that's tough for me, bro. Like I don't want to be on camera, man. Like everything in me like folds even thinking about it. So why did you want to do it?
So they've asked me for several years. I think maybe even since 2016, 17, 18, 19. 2020, I finally said yes. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just get out there. Let's just see what we got. You know, I've got decent skills to like make it a little bit further. And that was a COVID year, and they canceled that show. Well, all right, that's fine. It's, you know, it's what it is. And then they asked me again last year, and this time I was like, you know what? I've got a shop. I've got a little bit more skill. I was drawing my own stuff, and I was like, I think I've got what it takes to like go on there and like maybe not make it to the end. I was manifesting and believing that I could get to the end, but I was like, I'm gonna at least do something. And I just accepted and I went on there. It did take like, it is like a self-belief thing. It is part of like, you're going to be seen, you're going to be judged. But I was already doing Instagram videos, and I was already reading comments and replying to people. I was just like, I don't give a fuck what people say. And that was one of the questions they asked in like a psychological, they had a psychiatrist do an interview with us.
Oh shit.
Like, how would you feel, you know, if you lost? Like, how would you do like if people judge your work, or if, you know, they say something about you? You know, and I have a very stoic philosophy about it, and just like, I can't control those things. You know, I can only control my thoughts, my actions. I can only give my best effort. You know, it doesn't even matter, you know, and I'm not going to see all of it. So, you know, I'm just going to let it go. And yeah, that's just a big part of it, is just knowing like, and I don't think really a lot of people are ready for it's not even backlash, is you're just going to have random people say shit about you, which is why I think people don't want to be on social media.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable to already post your artwork and people to comment about it. But if you make videos about yourself or you competing and you beat their favorite artist and their fan base says something about you, I wasn't on the show long enough for people to really say shit about me. You know, I had more people going, damn, I think you should have stayed or you should have won. I said, thank you, me too. But you know, self-worth, I think, is a big part of it. And also just like, hey, give yourself the opportunity. People ask me like, would you do it again? I'm like, no, I've been on there before, but should I do it? I said, absolutely. If you get the opportunity, just do it. Even if you don't get far, even if you get pretty far, when you put yourselves in uncomfortable situations, I learned about myself, how I am on and off camera. I felt like I held my values, how I perceived the TV show. What I learned from being on there was like, I'm not good at competition. Like, I'm a competitive person, but if we have to compete and your livelihood is on the line and I gotta say stuff to like send you home, I feel bad. Yeah, because you've done a lot to take time away from your family and your business, your kid. I missed my son's first birthday being on the show. And like, I didn't wanna have to do that, you know? But like, I wasn't gonna like say stuff about the guy's tattoo so that I could stay one more day and realize like, oh, I gotta do this every episode. I was like, I'm gonna let you guys judge on it. I'm just gonna argue about my points and why I did them, and then just call it a day. And I was sent home and I said, thank you guys for the opportunity. I love and appreciate you guys. I'm gonna learn from this and go home and just be a better artist. That's it.
So you did it, you feel like you did it as a challenge?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I bet that answer is different for everybody, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people just want to be seen. And like I had told, like my old boss, Jake, was on, and he's like, go, bro. He's like, you should go. He's like, I think you should go. You should go. And his whole thing is just like, it'll make your career. You know, it's just like such a like, it's like a, you're gonna be this percentage busier for the rest of your life because you were on this show. Almost kind of no matter what happens. You know what I mean?
Most people I know that have been on the show, their followers barely goes up.
Yeah, but
maybe they get a few more.
But are those are your friends that already have followers?
No, they don't even have a lot. It barely goes up for everybody. Like no one, it doesn't do as much as we think the show's gonna do. And really, like we go on there and afterwards, like we're so conscious that like everyone's seen us, they've seen our bad tattoo. Some people don't even know the show's a thing. They're like, "What's Ink Master?" Like, oh yeah, like we think we're like on this big TV platform, and yes, it is something. But you just go back to life like normally. Yeah.
I think it does. So I saw people do good in conventions from it. Maybe that's the part that Jake was kind of talking about, because you know these dudes can still hit the convention circuit, and people want to be tattooed by them because they were on the show. You know, they're not necessarily enthusiasts.
Sure, that's not my audience though.
Yeah.
I want to find the people that like they want to get some personal artwork. They connect with who I am. Like all my clients, they resonate with me for different reasons than me being on TV. I think this was a good segment, Thyris.
Yeah.
Appreciate you talking to me. Hold on, no, you don't hit stop.
Don't hit stop?
No. Yeah, so this is Thyris, he works at Upside Tattoo.
Yeah.
Check him out at Thyris Tattoos. Anything you want to say or share before we go?
I don't know, man. Not really.
He said his piece.
All right.
Love and appreciate you guys. Have a good night.
Everybody's gonna think I'm a drug addict. You know what I mean?
We'll follow up with him in a few weeks.
Follow up with me in a year. I'm buff and sober. I'm just chugging coffee. Come on up. Drinking tea. Doing breath work.
Oh, he's already doing it.
I'll quit Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying?
You're never quitting Call of Duty.
I hope not, dude. My teammates are gonna be pissed.